Welcome to Your Case, Your Justice, Personal Injury with Empathy with Lowell Steiger.
Hey everybody, welcome to Your Case, Your Justice, Personal Injury with Empathy with my buddy Lowell Steiger right here. I'm your host, Mike Leon. You know, Lowell's a dedicated South California attorney who has been fighting for injured clients since 1998. He's got a genuine passion for advocacy and he works tirelessly to secure justice and compensation for those in need. And on today's episode, Lowell and I were going to be talking about living with pain or trauma that doesn't necessarily show up on an x-ray. So Lowell, let me ask you, what do we mean by invisible injuries in a personal injury case?
Yeah. Thanks for having me, Mike. Yeah, it's good to see you. Invisible injuries are pretty much what it sounds like. It would be like nerve damage, soft tissue trauma, meaning sprain, PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress disorder as a result of an accident or an injury. Things that don't necessarily show up on x-rays or other kinds of diagnostic scans. And the thing is that even though you can't see a lot of these injuries, they are life-changing and need to be discovered and addressed.
You know, Lowell, why do you think that these type of injuries, you know, they get downplayed oftentimes by not only the insurance companies, but sometimes your own friends and family will downplay these injuries? Why is that?
Well, when you can't see the bruise or you don't see a cast because of a broken arm, the people assume that you're okay, right? He's got, it doesn't look like he's in pain. He's not wincing. He's not walking around, limping with, like that. So the insurance companies will exploit that so that they can put doubt into your case and to minimize the payments. And even friends and loved ones, because again, they don't see it. They think, well, maybe he's not injured or she's not injured as badly as she thinks she is or he thinks she is. He is.
Right. Well, Lowell, then you can't see the injury. How do you prove that the injury that doesn't show up clearly in the medical imaging is actually hurting you? Like, how do you prove that you're suffering from this injury?
Well, continued medical treatment. If you have a well-respected doctor who's diagnosing you with whatever it is, whatever the injury is, that, sort of an unimpeachable source that's objective, that will testify to that, your change in lifestyle, the things you no longer can do that you could do before. Those things all indicate what you're going through, and there are certain physical tests or medical tests, diagnostic tests that can indicate what's wrong with you, like how far you can move your arm or how far you can move your leg or bend or things like that. There are things that don't show up on X-rays that are still objective tests that that diagnose you.
Yeah, so Lowell, let's piggyback on that because you mentioned some of these tests, and obviously there's people that administer these tests, like neurologists, pain management doctors. Like, so what role do these medical specialists, play in these type of cases?
Well, these medical experts or specialists, they're crucial to your case because, of course, they have experience in whatever it is that you're going through. There's a doctor for pretty much everything, so they can diagnose conditions like nerve damage, migraines, which, who sees a migraine other than the person feeling it? Chronic pain syndromes. These are things that, an emergency room visit may not be able to diagnose or that they might just miss. And the expert will help to validate and explain what's going on.
Something else that could be missed, and you were kind of mentioning it before about the PTSD, is psychological trauma and PTSD. Can that be part of a personal injury claim?
Absolutely. Can be a big part of a personal injury claim. Because PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, can really alter somebody's trajectory in life.
What should someone do if they're in pain, but maybe they didn't go to the ER right away after an accident? Like, what would you recommend for them to do?
If you're in pain, go to a doctor. I don't care how much after the accident it is. The thing that, and that's a great question because people think, oh, I didn't go right away. No one's going to believe me. But the reality is that after an accident, and I'm not a doctor, I'm just talking about, after years and years of experience doing this, after an accident, you've got the flight or fright reaction. So you've got adrenaline coursing through your body, coursing through your veins, and you're kind of in shock, and you don't really feel, sometimes you don't feel the pain that you're going to feel a few days later, a few weeks later. There may be things like concussion, which you don't realize that you had. You don't have to hit your head to have a concussion. Your head just has to be jarred around because you've got gelatinous. Your brain is gelatinous, right? It's banging against your head. So with a hard enough impact, when it bangs against your head, you can get a concussion. These are all things that you might not realize right away. And experts, your doctor and other experts, medical experts, will be able to justify or substantiate your injuries, even though you didn't go right away. So to a doctor right away. So as soon as you feel something, just go get evaluated.
Good advice there, Lowell. Speaking of explaining things to people, juries are made up of people. So, in your experience, how do juries usually respond to cases where the injury isn't visible?
Skeptically. However, with a proper story being told, which is substantiated by witnesses such as doctors, who are objective and have no skin in the game, or by family members who have seen a change in your demeanor and a change in the things that you've done, the way you do things that you can no longer do, your employer who may see that you cannot do the same tasks that you did before, that you can't sit at your desk as long as you could. These are all things that maybe individually don't say anything, but together they create a story and substantiate what you have gone through. And your own testimony is very important, and your believability. And people know, I think people know if somebody is BSing, and I think people know if somebody's really telling the truth and giving their honest evaluation of as a witness watching somebody and the person themselves that has been going through this.
And there's a difference there that you just mentioned, Lowell, about, what juries trying to decipher if the person's honest or if they're not being honest. So staying in that kind of vein, like what is the difference between somebody that's actually having chronic pain versus an injury that's just taking time to heal?
So chronic pain lingers, right? It goes on forever. And it may not always be at the same level. It may be, sometimes it's just, very subtle feeling. You just, your back is there where, before this, you didn't think about your back or your neck, or your arm or whatever was injured. So that would be chronic pain. And, again, it can ebb and flow. It doesn't always have to be a 10 out of a scale of 10, or a 1 on a scale of 10. And acute pain, ACUTE, would be something that eventually heals. And, hopefully it heals. It's horrible, and it gets less and less and less, and ultimately resolves.
So let's put a bow on this episode here, Lo. Do me a favor. What would you say to someone right now who's worried they won't be believed because they look fine?
I would say that is a realistic worry. However, you are still you, and you are feeling what you feel, and you need to be believed, and you may need someone to help you be believed, if that makes any sense. And that would be a lawyer. And again, like I was saying, the witnesses that might testify on your behalf, meaning doctors or family members, friends, fellow workers, things like that. But don't discount what you have gone through, because, you are worthy of being, you're worthy of being believed, and you're worthy of being made whole again to the extent that we can make you whole again.
Great insights as always. Thank you so much, Lowell, for the time.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks for having me. It was wonderful.
And thank you, everybody out there, for listening to today's episode of Your Case, Your Justice. If you're struggling with pain or trauma that isn't visible on the outside, folks, your experience is real, like Lo just said, and the law can still protect you. So if you want to get some help, in understanding your rights or making sure your injuries are taken seriously, do me a favor, reach out to Lowell. You can go to steigerlaw.com, STEIGER law.com. Be sure to like, subscribe, share the podcast with anyone who needs a little clarity after an accident. I'm Mike Leon.
Okay, thanks, Mike.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.